Hey guys, welcome back to this week's episode. And I'm so glad you're here because there's something that I really think we need to talk about when it comes to thinking about finding your purpose. And, thinking about what is it that we're getting so wrong about trying to find your purpose, and then how to, what to do about it. And I just want to talk about this because I feel like generally speaking, that we are probably overcomplicating this as we do as little humans, and our minds need something very, very specific to latch onto and know that it's right before we pursue it. So I want to talk this week about what I think we're getting wrong about finding your purpose and what to do about it. So I'll just start with explaining where I think we're at when it comes to finding purpose. So we're definitely in this turning point in history where it's becoming more and more prevalent and more okay to find your purpose or feel really good about following your passions. I'm not that long ago, maybe even some of our parents, certainly our grandparents' era, or at least mine anyway. And I'm a elder millennial. There was definitely this idea that you just pulled your boots up and you just did what you were supposed to do in order to support your family. And there probably wasn't a whole lot of talk. I'm sure there were some people, but there probably wasn't a whole lot of talk about what is it you want to do with your life? And does it matter that it has meaning? And does your work mean anything? And is it purpose? And are you living out your purpose? So I think we're on this sort of new turn of events, and lots of people are talking about this right now, and where there was a massive era of just setting systems up and processes and procedures and learning how to have things work together, like government and organized religion and communities. And then we had the online boom that happened, and then we became more like that because we could connect and be communicative toward each other. And people were able to really think about different ways of making money than just at the local factory or just farming or, being in the sort of blue collar space of, being a welder or being a plumber or being an electrician, or even in this probably more educated space where it was like be a teacher or a lawyer or a doctor. So with all of this stuff that has been happening in the last several decades, we're starting to turn this corner of people really finding it to be incredibly critical to find their purpose and to do purposeful things and have meaning and have depth to what it is they're doing. And I think that what we're getting wrong is simply that we're overcomplicating it. So that's like the big ticket item. Like, I think we're overcomplicating it. And the reason I think we're doing that, or how I think we're doing that, is we've got these two camps still. So we've got one camp that is, yes, please, someone tell me my purpose. I really want to have purposeful work. It's so important to me to feel like I'm doing what I was put here on earth to do. And then there's another camp of people who are, that's a silly little childish thing, and who gets the privilege of just living their life's purpose. That's not a thing. And we shouldn't be playing silly little games with our purpose. And wouldn't that be nice if we all just could do what we love doing every day? And so I think those are the two major camps that we're in. And ultimately, because of those two different camps, we don't necessarily have this like streamlined way of understanding or even being free or having the permission to move forward with what we think our purpose is. I posted something online the other day, and I talked about one of the big ticket items of trying to find your purpose is just feeling like you have the permission to do it. And several people commented and said how permission is a huge thing in all of this. And I really think it's because of these two different camps. So we've got one camp raising the other camp, or maybe vice versa. And we're in this space of trying to understand how to sort of cross the bridge of, is it important to know what our purpose is? How do we do that? Is it supposed to be what we do for a living? Do we have to make money doing our purpose? So there's a lot of these questions that start flying around and then become overcomplicated. And on top of it, because we've still got this camp that's over here like, stop being silly and get to work, we are holding back or holding down those that are really trying to pursue their purpose and feel like they have purposeful lives. And so those people are kind of stuck in this space of feeling like, if I do this, are people going to think I'm weird? Are mom and dad going to disown me? Is my spouse going to think I'm crazy for not wanting to do this big corporate job that I've had for 20 years? So I think that this is where we're at. And ultimately, that all sort of boils down to this concept of just really overcomplicating it is the way I see it. So then the question becomes, so what do we do about this? And how do we kind of get through this time? And how do we feel like, if you're certainly in the camp of, yes, please give me my purpose, I'd like to have a purposeful life. If you're in that camp, I'm speaking mostly to you, because if you're in the other camp, I'm probably not turning you into someone you're probably not going to be watching this video, because you're not going to be searching YouTube of how do I find my purpose. So the folks that are in the other camp of, I really do want to have a purpose, I really do want to know what I'm put here on earth to do, I want to think about how to uncomplicate this for you, because I don't want it to feel like this big, heavy burden that you're carrying around, and you're searching and you're searching and you're struggling with it and you're wrestling with it. And ultimately that leads you to the end of your life never really fulfilling what it is you want to do. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is you stop over complicating this, get to work, and start pursuing it regardless of what other people think about you, regardless of how scared you are, regardless of feeling like you don't know what you want. Because that's the thing that ends up happening too in these camps is, when we have that one camp of, yes, please tell me what my purpose is, the way they overcomplicate their world is they claim up and down and backwards and sideways that they don't know what they want. So then they get like in this space of like no activity, not doing anything, because if they don't know what they want, they don't know what to pursue, therefore they just do nothing. But search and Google and try to come up with an answer up here. And then the other camp that I talked about of people who think that trying to find your purpose is some silly little concept only meant for those higher level people, or just people who are out to lunch, or however they're being described. And the way they end up, and the way they overcomplicate this concept, is they end up feeling bitter, and then they end up having feelings of being stuck, right? So those are the two kind of over complications I see happening. So if you're the person who's really yearning to understand what your purpose is, and you're desperate for it, you end up feeling stuck because you sit in this space of, but I don't know what I want, and I don't know how to find my purpose, so I don't even know what I'm doing. So, but I want it, but I don't know how to get it. And I don't know what I even want. So how do I even say what I want my purpose is? Because I don't even know what I want. And then if you're the other person who thinks that trying to find your purpose is just some silly little concept, playground land, you end up feeling stuck because you're in a position where you don't feel like you have the permission really to pursue anything. You probably have a mortgage, or maybe you have loans you're trying to pay off if you're a little bit on the greener side in your career. You might feel like there's no way on this earth you could ever tell your parents, who paid hundreds and thousands of dollars for you to go get a university degree or a higher level education degree in lawyering, and then to turn around and tell them, just kidding, mom and dad, I don't want to be a lawyer. And so those are how those two camps get stuck. So if you're a person who's like, yes, please, you get stuck because you claim up and down and backwards, you don't know what you want. And then if you're in the other camp of trying to find your purpose is just a silly little game kids are playing these days, you end up feeling bitter and stuck, and feeling like you can't get out of the situation you're in because you've got all these responsibilities. So I think those are the way we're overcomplicating it. I think those are the way the two camps get stuck, or the two types of people get stuck. And so the question becomes, what to do about it. And so if you've ever watched any of my videos, you've heard anything I ever say, I will define finding your purpose as carrying out your soul's desires. That's it. Definition done. No need to even think about it anymore. And I've said this a lot, and I hope you go back and listen to some of my videos where I do talk about that, because it's really important to understand the simplicity of it. And so the first step in knowing what to do about how to try to find your purpose and combating what we're getting so wrong about this is to commit to listening. And what I mean by that is we're so far removed from who we are here, and we're so in the here. So we're really, really paying attention to what the mind says. We're letting the mind lead the charge on all this purpose work. And we're not letting our soul or our heart or our desires really come out to play and really get expressed. And what that ends up causing is a lack of commitment to self. And so if we really take this in steps and we say, okay, how do I make this so simple that I can definitely accomplish it and for sure know I'm fulfilling my purpose on a daily basis? And that first step is to commit to listening to yourself, spending time with yourself. And what I'm talking about here is not that complicated, but very difficult. I'm talking about no distractions. I'm talking about stop doom scrolling when you have time by yourself. I'm talking about take a walk by yourself and don't listen to a podcast. Don't listen to music. Go drive somewhere. Don't listen to anything. Don't have anything playing on in the car. But even that's slight distraction because you're driving. But it's this commitment to listening. And even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes a day of spending time with yourself, that's monumental compared to what most people are doing. The reason people get this so wrong and the reason people stay confused and feel like they go through life never really knowing their purpose is because they literally don't know how to listen to themselves. And the reason they don't know how to listen to themselves is because they're not actually allowing the time it takes in order to do that. And so the first step in getting through or breaking through this overcomplication we're doing and getting closer and closer to what our true purpose is the commitment to listen to yourself. And when you listen to yourself, the second step in this process is to take action, because the only way that you are ever going to get clarity is if you feel that stirring inside you, you commit to listening to it, which means having the time to do it, but also the commitment to take action is the big second piece to this. And that's that like true commitment to self, because what we more often than not do is we're so committed to everything else. We're committed to our Netflix shows. We're committed to our friends. We're committed to our jobs. We're committed to our families. We're committed to all these things, but we're not committed to ourselves. We're not committed to making sure that we set aside time for ourselves, to spend time with ourselves, to actually even hear what our heart is even saying, what our soul's even coming up with. And, I think it's a nature of just our society currently, but I also think it's just a nature of being really uncomfortable with ourselves to some degree. And that's just a whole nother probably topic, but we genuinely are committed to so many other things in this world, and we're not committed to ourselves. And that leads to this stagnant, I don't know what my purpose is, place that most of us are in. And then that leads to all sorts of other things in life as well. Anxiety, depression. And by the way, I'll just caveat, I know those are not the only reasons for those things. So I've had anxiety myself, very, very acute, very, very terrible. I don't wish it on anybody. I know there's a lot of reasons for it, so I don't want to downplay it. But when we're not committed to ourselves, it leads to a lot of things. And it even leads to things like being overweight or obesity or feeling like crap or not sleeping well because we're not even committing 20 minutes of our life to just go for a walk. And I know, again, those aren't the only reasons we have those problems, but we're not even committing to ourselves enough time to get a workout in per day or move our body per day and say, you know what, body, I love you so much that I'm going to commit to you at least 20 minutes a day of moving you because that's what you like. Yeah, so we're just really in this space of committing to so many other things but ourselves. And I know there's a lot of people out there that think committing to ourselves or putting ourselves first is selfish, especially parents. I see this a lot in parents that if they do anything that is for themselves and not for their children, they find that to be selfish. So I just want to say that you will be the best version of yourself if you commit to you for at least a little bit of time during the day. And I promise you, your family will be okay. And in fact, they'll be even better because you will be better. So just a side note there for the parents out there. So with that being said, I just want to say that the first step in getting through this overcomplication of trying to find your purpose is committing to yourself and committing time that you can listen so you can actually hear those things that you want. Then the second step is taking action so that you can feel what it feels like to A, honor yourself, and B, do the thing that you feel like you really want to do, just to see, like you get this idea like, ooh, I want to do this. And then you go try it and you take action. Then you can see if you actually like it. You can see if it fulfills you. You can see if it puts you on the clouds or in the clouds. And then the third step in this process is take really good notes. And I don't mean like literal. You can if you're a big journaler or a big writer, but take note. At the end of your day, take a little inventory of your day and think, where did I really enjoy my day? Where did my energy get really low versus high? And start taking inventory of what you were doing during that time. Were you coaching somebody? Were you playing a sport? Were you leading a team? Were leading a training, leading a workshop? So start thinking about those things during the day and start taking inventory, and then think to yourself, okay, I committed to listening to myself, step 1. I took action on that, step 2. And now I'm seeing that I liked this little part of it over here, but I didn't really love this little part over there. So then you iterate and you try again. And that's this third step. And again, if I go back to my definition of finding your purpose, I know I've said it so much, but I'm going to say it again and again and again until we get this. The definition of finding your purpose, or not even finding, the definition of your purpose is to carry out your soul's desires. And that can mean I want to play pickup basketball 3 times a week because that makes my heart sing. That makes my soul happy. I want to make sure that I'm spending 20 minutes a day just having a conversation with my child because that really feels like my soul really wants that. My soul wants that relationship with my child. It could be trying your hand at a new craft. That could mean trying your hand at a new craft like painting or singing or photography because your soul says, that's so fun, I want to do it. And I want to point these things out because so many of us are so stuck on purpose, having to be what we do for a living. And trust me when I say, I think it's beautiful when we get there. And I think when we start really listening to our soul's desires, that's typically what ends up happening, just kind of naturally. But I want to make sure that I point these things out, these little things, because those are the things that are honoring your soul. And if you don't do those things, you're not living your purpose. And when you do those things, you're truly living your purpose. You're truly listening to what your soul really wants. In addition to the take notes and iterate part, this is where you start building that relationship with yourself so that you are really in tune with that first part, which is committing to listen. So on that third part, this is when you start really building a relationship with yourself. It's no different than like, let's say you have a child and you say to the child, it's a young kid. They've not experienced everything in life. You have no idea what they're going to love, what they're going to hate. And you say to the child, hey, would you want to go for a bike ride on the Greenway tomorrow night? And the child's like, yeah, like, this sounds great. Yay. And then you take the child for a bike ride and they are over the moon. They are having so much fun. They never stop smiling. And you think to yourself, okay, this is really fun and cool. My child loves to ride their bike. So I'm going to make a commitment to them that I take them out 3 times a week to ride their bike because they've really enjoyed that. It's the same thing with your soul. So that third part where it's taking notes and iterating is exactly the way you would treat any other relationship where you made sure you understood what that other person really loved and enjoyed, and then to make a commitment to keep doing that with them. And so for yourself, when you do something, you literally turn inward and say, hey, did you like that? Did you not like that? And maybe you don't even have to have a conversation because you'll just know that you loved it so much that it's pretty obvious that's what you want to do again. Like, for example, recently I just had my first experience with public speaking, and I'll be really honest with you, it was not that great. I know it wasn't. I watched the video back. It was okay. It was all right. But it didn't really matter if it was good or bad. What mattered was I realized that my soul was so on fire doing that. And I said, okay, okay, great. I get it. I hear you. Because I've been doing this for long enough now, at least 5 years, that I'm pretty in tune. Like I'm super connected. So I really get it. I really understand when I love something, when my soul's like, yes, please, can we do more of that? I don't even really have to proactively ask. I just know. I'm like, yep, I know. I know that feeling now. I know that I need to do more of that. So here I am. I'm just trying to figure out. I have no idea how I'm going to get speaking gigs. I have no idea what to charge. I have no idea how I'm going to figure out how to make a compelling message to give as a keynote. But I'm going to, because my soul is like, can we do more of that? That was so freaking fun. So that's what it's all about. It's like, you're committing to listening, you hear it, you understand it, then you take action. And then after you take action, you iterate on that action as you go. And I want to make sure that I really am clear with your purpose is carrying out your soul's desires, because way too many of us are out in the world thinking it's got to be this one thing that we do in life. And no, it could be a million different things. It just depends on what your little soul decides he or she wants. And that's the fun part. It's like discovering yourself, discovering your soul, figuring out what he or she really loves to do. And the other thing too is I think this can change over time. I think when we like what your soul wants to do in its 20s versus your 30s versus your 40s versus your 50s versus your 60s versus your 70s, it's going to be different each decade. And so it's really fun because if you learn this process, you're never going to have to stress about this again. And you know that once you get to that crossroads, because you're going to, trust me, because each era comes with like a different set of situations, you're going to face that thing again where you're like, what do I want to do? And so if you learn how to do this and you develop this skill over time, it just becomes boom, 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 boom. And the best part of all of this, the best result that you can get out of this is A, you're not overcomplicating it. B, you're never going to have to ask the freaking question again, how do I find my purpose? And I would guess that people who are really searching for their purpose would be desperate to never have to ask that again, because it can be very frustrating. I know for me, I felt like I asked myself that question probably a million times over. And when I realized that all it was carrying out my soul's desires, and then my next step to that was just figuring out what my soul wanted and how to listen to it, which is the commit to listen, the take action and iterate from there. It was like a huge weight off my shoulders. It was like amazing. It's probably one of the best days of my life. And since then, I've just kept on, like it changes over time. At one point I was like, my soul was like, hey, I kind of like crushing it. Can we go be an executive? That sounds like an amazing experience. And then after that, it was like, I really just want to have my own business. Like, I like being free and I like having creative freedom and I like doing what I want. I like working with different groups and different types of companies. And so I'm like, okay, and I proceed. And is it scary sometimes? Yeah. Is there some sacrifices involved? Lots of times there are, but it doesn't matter to me because what does matter to me is that I am 100% committed to me. I'm 100% committed to my soul and I'm committed to what she wants to do in life. And I carry that out no matter what. So I hope this helped. I would love a subscribe button. If you're here and you've lasted this long, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and make some comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. And just let me know if this resonates or not. Okay, till next time.